Yo, so back with another Jake and Josh video. Josh is on his phone. It's been a weird trend with him the last couple of videos and podcasts, but we're here to talk about that bitch Fousey tube. That fucking pussy ass dude.
You're going crazy.
I'll clock him in his face, dude.
Straight into the stream, boy. You're going crazy. So here's the funniest part. So
hold on, no, 1 second. I'm leveling him if I ever see him. I'm gonna be like, yo, Fousey, I got a sandwich for you, and he's like, hold, what's up, brother? And I'm like, a knuckle sandwich, and I hold up my fist, and it's just two beat pieces of bread, and I just fucking... I would ask Fousey if he was hungry, and then he'd be like, yeah, I guess I could eat, and then I'd be like, oh, well, eat this fucking combination, and then I... and drop him.
So the funniest part about this is we did a video on the whole Fousey thing 2 days ago.
Not knowing the context, by the way.
We literally went off of the playback video, which is something we gotta do. We gotta work on that. We both agreed.
I was looking at the full video like, yeah, if we released that video, we would have been toast.
So we watched the full video. Well, I watched half of the full video, but Coop watched the full video. And no,
it's like an hour-long stream. I just checked. I got a better view now for the basics of what happened, the framework, if you will, of what happened.
Where did you stop in the full video? Because I stopped like right after he gifted her another $500, so now she had reached like $2,400 in her Cash App, and they were like, she was like just crying, and he was crying.
I actually sped around the video. It's hard to say exactly where I stopped, but I remember seeing them both crying. I remember seeing him giving her cash tag out to I think it was to the streaming audience, right? Sending her money, him sending her money. The last thing I see is Fousey, and it's such a, I think this is one of the original points that I made that still is salient. Upon watching the full video, I think it really what makes Fousey, quote unquote, a scumbag. And I think, I mean, he's definitely morally wrong for this. I think what makes him so, I don't want to say corrupt, but there's got to be a better word to describe it. I'd say what makes him morally culpable in this situation is the fact that her mental state was so compromised to the point where she's crying to him when they first meet, and she's willing to kiss him on a first interaction. All these things, man, it is... Those are some of those things. I think we talked about this on the video where it's a clear red flag. And Fousey's just slaloming down like it's a fucking Olympic skiing event, and he's just going crazy. And then I have to say, it takes advantage in an airport bathroom.
So you didn't like watch specifically like for example, I put it on and I literally watched up until like that last part. You said you skipped around, so you didn't really like in terms of like
I sped around. Yeah.
Okay. So he gets into the video and he's chatting up with her and talking, and as we already know, because you were making jokes about this earlier, she would start to talk about things that she had going on and things that she would be excited to talk about, and Fousey would be like, wow, I'm so interested. Oh my gosh, I just got gifted a new sub, like yo, bro. And like that would be the first thing that he would jump to. So there was a lot of that going on. Then they start having a conversation about, and like throughout this whole thing, he's saying stuff about how she's attractive and she should change her flight to go to LA with him, like don't go to, like, you don't have to go where you're going, just come with me, like, whatever, all that stuff. There was actually this one time where he, like, left to go to the bathroom, and while he was gone, she started, like, hinting at, like, some of the sex traffic backdrop. Like, she started hinting at some of that. And then they fast forward again, and now they're showing each other tattoos. He shows him this one tattoo on her, which is, like, a guy's name, and he's like, oh, man.
I'll pay money to have it removed. I saw that part, yeah.
Exactly. So he was like, yeah, I'll pay money to get it removed. According to what he said later in the stream, she only had like $100 that she was going to use for 2 weeks to visit her kids. He himself sent her $300, right? Now, I noticed that he was like, yo, what's your Cash App? He said it out loud. And she chose not to say her Cash App out loud, but she chose to show him the Cash App. Until later on, when he then said, let me put my followers on in case that they want to give you money. And she was a little reluctant, but she said, it's fine, right? Gave him the Cash App, he put it on the stream, and then the $300 that he had given her transformed into $2,400. My thing is, if you started out your day in one area, right? You start out your day in one area and you're trying to manage and think about how you're going to see your kids and do that for 2 weeks, and just so much going on. You know, and then you meet this guy. He just, you know, because of what he's been able to do, he just blesses you with so much more money than what you had like 10 minutes ago. How do you feel like that's gonna affect like the person in that moment? Like, how do you feel like that's gonna affect them?
Regardless of whether or not Fousey had the intention of having sex with her, when he sends her this the money, all of the money, and when he sends her cash tap into chat and all that different type of stuff, right now let's leave that on the table.
Right.
Strictly speaking, to your point, there is a dynamic there that she started off her day with what she said 150 or something, or with, you know, with such little money that she was scraping by to go see her kids. Fousey comes in again. We could talk about how impaired she was, but she was reciprocating the flirting. There's that aspect there. They talk for a while, and suddenly, if you're this woman, your day goes from I don't know, dude. Have you ever found like $20 on the street?
Yeah, bro, it's like that, but like
your
20
day.
times. Yep.
Yeah, like 20 times that. 20 times that. And so that undoubtedly has to play a role. Now, I'm never gonna claim to understand the trauma or the mindset of someone that's been sex trafficked. I think that's obviously just must be an extremely alienating feeling. You'd probably feel subhuman at some points, right? Because you've been treated like property so much of your life. And to have this guy, I like the comment that someone put on the video. It's like when someone like this guy Fousey comes along, and whether he's feigning listening or he actually is listening, you have this guy now that has a large following, that has all this money, that's gifting it to you, that makes you feel seen. What does that do? And I think that's the question that you're getting to, Josh, is like, what does that do to her to say, like, let me give this guy some repayment at the very least?
And that would be my problem right there. Because to me, if I'm in Fousey's position and then I just gifted and I gave her all of that, and then she's like, yo, I gotta repay, or I gotta do this. To me, it would be morally wrong to take that. Like, if she's trying to give like the sexual favors, I would feel morally wrong taking that, because that's associated with trauma. I don't think that's really like what she really wants to do. She just thinks she has to do that because she thinks that's what I want from her, because I just gave her all this money and completely changed the day around. So that must be what I want. But no, not every guy is like that. I don't want her to continue to think that that's what she needs to do to please people, or to return a favor. So some people are just nice and they just want to see you succeed and they care about you. So that's the biggest problem with me and this whole Fousey thing. It's like he completely missed that. And even if it was consensual, and even if, you know, she was into it and she was like, yeah, I just don't think he's helping her in the long run with that mentality of growing away from that.
To me, it's just perpetualizing the shit that she's already gone through, right? We joke about it. It's sex. It's prostitution with extra steps. In the same way that he's enabling her to go through past steps and to kind of revisit that, I'm sure a way of life or a set of steps that have been, you think about it, ingrained in her head to this point, right? I receive money, or sometimes, I mean, you don't really receive money at all, but I meet a new guy, there's sex introduced there. Before that, you know, if she was a prostitute, she probably got paid. I'd imagine if she was sex trafficked, I don't know if it's something where it was against her will and she didn't receive pay. We'd have to see more so, but I'm assuming at one point, let's just go with this theory, that she would also receive money for it. So Fousey, in the same way that he's helping her, and when I say helping, I don't mean help in a good way. In the same way that he's enabling her to fall back into those past actions and further ingrain them in her mind. We also know that Fousey in the video said that he's had trouble in the past where he's bought prostitutes, right? Where he's engaged in that type of activity. So just as easily as she slipped back into that, Fousey puts on the pair of pants as well in that situation. I think that's another interesting aspect. But the final aspect for this video that I want to get into is moral culpability and how much agency Fousey had at the time. Because he was trying to charm her. Clearly, he was interested off the bat. And clearly, this power dynamic gets introduced with his power, with the money he's providing, with the way he's making physical contact when they first sit down. She divulges so much information to him in such a short time. That's an emotional power dynamic. Emotional power dynamics aren't always bad. But the point is that all the power in this situation is on the side of Fousey, right? Could you imagine, Josh, if you're a woman at an airport bar and you have such little money to your name that you have to scrape by again to go see your son, and this rich streamer guy comes up to you. I don't want to say rich because I don't think he's rich, but this well-off streamer guy,
more money than she got.
Yeah, more money than she has, comes up to you. Are you really going to feel like, and he's, he has his arm around you.
And he's just chatting you up, yep.
He's chatting you up.
Buying her more drinks, remember that.
And that's another power dynamic because she was most likely impaired. Now, there's a lot of different accounts of how many drinks she had. It seems like nobody can kind of confer on the exact amount, but people seem to agree generally on the fact that she was impaired. And that's another dynamic. If you're a woman in that situation, Josh, are you being readily able to kind of just get up and leave that situation? Because I think that's one of the big things that we need to talk about is how much agency this woman had in this whole situation. I think that's the final piece to what we need to be talking about, because, intentions are one thing. If Fousey wanted to fuck off the bat and he's using all these things to get to that, that's of course horrible. But then the other aspect is, could she have left? And did he provide circumstances in which she then could not leave, whether it was her being impaired, the money, the audience watching her? Yeah, I really don't know. And I think that's the biggest mystery of this whole situation is we might not ever know. I just could go off of what happened, and it's a real bad look for Fousey, especially the fact that he was bragging about it after the fact and then pulled it back and started acting remorseful when chat dogpiled him and was laying into him.
My thing is, if she's coming from the backdrop that she's coming from, maybe her agency is not going to be the same type of agency that you and I might have, because she's not coming from the same backdrop that you and I are having. She's not coming from the same backdrop of a lot of people, she's not going to be thinking how you and I are thinking. I would argue that the most important thing in her life right now is making sure that her kids grow up and are successful, and they're not living with her, but she wants to see them. So right now it's just a lot of making enough money so I can see them more often. And that's probably a lot of the things that are on her mind. Based on what she used to do, I would argue that a lot of the agency that she has is very limited, because to her, she might be thinking, this might suck, but I got to do what I got to do so I can A, stay alive, and 2, get to a place where I can see my kids more often. So it's like those two things are probably weighing very heavily on her mind, And I don't know her. I can't really speak for her mind really per se, but I'm just stating what I would think would be number one and number two in her mind. If you're in a situation and you're dealing with a guy who is super friendly, super kissy up on you and stuff like that, and I would argue that's probably what she dealt with for, the years when she was being sex trafficked. It's just natural to just, slip right into how she used to, or how she was doing things before.
That is where fundamentally Fousey is morally wrong. That's where he crosses that boundary. He has to be the guy to pump the brakes and say no, right? Giving her money is not inherently a bad thing. Getting her drinks even is not a bad thing. Having her open up to you, even though it's a little bit weird off the bat to be talking about something as heavy as that, clearly it's because she's in a mentally compromised state. That's a little bit weird, but even that, without the sexual aspect and filming it is weird. All those things are weird, but without the sex, they're not inherently morally bad, I believe. When the sex gets introduced is when it becomes a bad thing. And so we agree on that point, but I do want to just close off with this. We're never going to get a straight answer out of Fousey, because whether or not he is manic, it's just we're never gonna know truly what went down. And I'm not trying to deny any blame on Fousey, but the point is that there are significant holes in what happened that we're never going to know about. And when I say holes, again, I just know it's like holes in what we as the viewers saw, not any moral arguments. So I want to be very careful with that.
Yeah, it's just, basically you saying something along the lines of we don't know the full story, so we're going based off of what we've seen, and morally we're making our judgments, but we really don't have the full picture.
In general, Fousey just needs to get some help.
Get off of
obviously
social media.
Totally not okay what he did, and whether or not he knows what he did was wrong or he had full cognizance, it's still something that is incredibly messed up, something that it just gives you a gross feeling. I struggled to watch. Part of the reason why I skimmed around on the video was because it was just really watching it. I was like, oh, this feels naughty. This feels yucky.
Yeah, I think that's all I got on this topic.
Yeah. Dude, well, we've been talking about it. Imagine Let's add on 15 minutes. I want to talk about.
Nah, bro, we're gonna have to wrap this up. My mom she's gonna need me to do some things in a little bit. So listen, you good?
I'm good, bro. I'm ready to skedaddle out of here.
All right, I'm fantastic. So everyone, thank you for tuning into the Jake and Josh show. Yet again, this is episode 5?
No, well, we're not going off a podcast episode. This is just be another video.
Okay, so this is just one of our videos. But thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. All right?
See ya.